Good morning, everyone. In today's class, we will be discussing about the topic contempt of court. As you all know, the reason why we have taken up this particular topic in yesterday's Hindu newspaper, if you see, in both the editorial column and in one of the opinions columns, in both the articles, they mentioned about this contempt of court. And I thought, like, along with this contempt of court, so we can also discuss about sedition and defamation, because all the three, contempt of court, sedition, and defamation, so they're actually dealing with restrictions to the freedom of speech and expression. So, to what extent this conflict between rights versus restrictions to be understood? Okay, so that we will be coming to know in the subsequent lecture. So if you take the first one, here this is the current issue. The individual you're seeing in the picture, his name is Prashant Bhushan. So against whom recently Supreme Court issued criminal contempt of court. Okay, so it seeks an explanation from Prashant Bhushan regarding his tweets. Eventually, his tweets were also withheld by the Twitter. But if you see, these are the two tweets that were tweeted by this individual against the judiciary. One is with respect to specifically to the current Chief Justice. Okay. Second one is with respect to the recent Chief Justices of India. So according to him, they are not actually working with neutrality. They have some kind of favoritism towards one political party. In this case, he is like saying they colluded with the current ruling party. So that's an allegation because we haven't have any proof. But as Supreme Court felt like the kind of tweets by this individual, okay, it created some kind of disrespect to the institution called as the judiciary. So with that reason, Supreme Court started using its constitutional power. So where Supreme Court actually used its constitutional power, if you see, if you take the case of this contempt of court, Article 129 in the case of Supreme Court, and Article 215 in the case of High Court. So in these two articles, so we have this contempt of court proceedings. Courts can initiate contempt of court proceedings themselves. That means under Article 129 Supreme Court and Article 215 the High Court, they can start contempt of court proceedings against individuals, okay, who disrespects the judiciary. Okay, but if you see the word contempt of court, this word called as contempt of court, nowhere in the Constitution we did not define. In the Constitution, there is no definition of contempt of court. Okay, so contempt of court got mentioned in the Constitution. So eventually, it got left to the legislature to make a law. Okay, so eventually, in the year 1971, the then Union government, it came up with the Contempt of Courts Act 1971. So, according to the Contempt of Courts Act 1971, so we have a definition for contempt of court. Okay, so Article 129 and Article 215. Okay, so these two, one for Supreme Court and one for High Court. Okay, so these two articles provided power to the courts, okay, to deal with contempt of court proceedings. But how can you define contempt of court? So that definition you will get from the Contempt of Courts Act 1971. So what exactly contempt of court means? Showing disrespect to the dignity or the authority of a court. So in what ways you can show disrespect to the court? Suppose if the court issues an order, the court ordered you to come and attend the proceedings on so and so day, but you did not listen to the court. Court issued a warrant against you, but you did not give a reply. In that case, because you violated the order or the decree issued by the court, then the court got the authority, okay, like to go with contempt of court proceedings against you because you disrespected the order given by the court. So these kind of proceedings is what we call as civil proceedings. Civil proceedings means what? Civil contempt of court proceedings means disobedience to the orders or the decrees passed by the court. Okay, so criminal means here, so criminal means, suppose for example, there is a word called as scandalizing. Scandal. What is scandal means here? Scandal means lowering the dignity of the court. Suppose for example, coming up with wrong allegations. Okay, suppose in the case of, suppose if you see here, in this Prashant Bhushan case, when the court issued contempt of court proceedings, it's a criminal offense. Okay, so under the this contempt of court proceedings started under the criminal category. Why? The Supreme Court here argued that the tweets of Prashant Bhushan, they are actually scandalous in nature. They are scandalous in nature. Scandalous in nature means they are actually lowering the dignity of the judiciary. So in the Prashant Bhushan case, the court actually used this particular clause. There are also other clauses on the basis of which criminal contempt of court proceedings can be initiated by the courts. What are they? Interference in the due course of the judicial proceeding. It means if the judiciary is dealing with a particular issue, if you go and interfere in that case also the court can issue criminal contempt of court proceedings. At the same time, when the court is dealing with one particular issue, when you're trying to obstruct, when you try to obstruct the administration of justice, so in that case also contempt of court proceedings can be initiated against you, the criminal one. Okay, so this is about the types of contempts of court, civil and criminal. So in the recent past, when this usage started getting increased in the year 2006, Union government came up with one kind of amendment. It added it added an expression called as defense of truth. So it means if a court issued a contempt of court proceedings against you, when the contempt of court proceedings started against you, in that case, if you have the defense of truth, if you have the substantiative evidence, to prove, in that case, the court should consider that. The court should consider that as valid. It should allow you. It cannot directly penalize you. Okay. So this word called as defense of truth. So defense of truth means here we are simply requested the court here like, please allow me to prove myself, to prove my decency. Okay. So why I have to come up with this kind of argument? So I should be given the chance to prove. So this is what we call as defense of truth. Okay, so this is the amendment to the Contempt of Courts Act in the year 2006. And right now, so first of all, why do we need this? Why do we need contempt of court provision in the Constitution itself? What's the purpose of it? So the first and foremost thing is, if this contempt of court proceedings are there, if the courts initiates contempt of court proceedings, first of all, it gives some kind of a protection to the judiciary, so that individuals cannot easily target the judiciary. They cannot come with loose comments. They cannot pass loose comments against the judiciary. so that it can protect the judiciary from the unfair attacks. Suppose, for example, if the judiciary passes a judgment, okay, so if one section of the society or one group of people, if they are disheartened with the judgment, if they did not like the judgment, in that case, they may attack the judiciary. Okay. So if the judiciary does not have a proper weapon with it, it cannot protect itself. So to protect its dignity, its reputation, okay, at the same time, for the smooth functioning, without any biases, without any what you call favorites or fear, that judges can function. Eventually, we can strengthen the foundations of democracy. So this is the real purpose for which this particular contempt of court proceedings were incorporated in the Indian Constitution. We have taken up this from UK, England actually. So this contempt of court proceeding, this concept of contempt of court, it actually originated in England. Okay. So because they in England, especially there in that House of Lords, the reason why they have to come up with this contempt of court, because they want to protect these institutions, they want to protect their dignity, their reputation. Okay, these institutions, they should not be dragged easily to the petty, like small issues, smaller petty issues, those issues that does not have a substantive argument. Okay, so for that purpose, this contempt of court concept actually emerged. We also incorporated, we even provided powers to our judiciary also, as we mentioned, Article 129. Okay, it grants powers to the Supreme Court to deal with contempt of court's case. Article 215 grants powers to the High Court to deal with contempt of court's case. Okay. So for that purpose, we even enacted the Contempt of Courts Act 1971, as we just mentioned. So, but do we have any issues with it? Definitely, because without an issue, why will we will be discussing about it? If you see the present Prashant Bhushan case, okay, so right now in the age of the social media, okay, at the same time in the age of this freedom of speech and expression, like giving importance to this freedom of speech and expression. Okay, so if somebody criticizes the individual, suppose in this case, okay, what was the kind of criticism here? This particular, the current CJI, the current Chief Justice of India, okay, he rode on one bike. Okay, it's a kind, so according to him, it's a bike of some politician who's belonging to some present ruling party. The CJI, okay, rode his bike when in a casual dress, okay, without wearing a mask, okay, without helmet. So this was his tweet. So accordingly, Prashant Bhushan mentioned like, so this shouldn't be done, because when you are into the topmost position, okay, so you should maintain the dignity of it, that judges should not do like this. So this is his opinion. But immediately coming up with contempt of court proceedings, the first and foremost thing what it is doing, it is curbing the freedom of speech and expression. Okay, so these kind of proceedings, that means to what extent we have to use the contempt of court proceedings. Okay, so at the same time, if you give these powers to the judiciary, they may be used arbitrarily without applying the concept of rationality. Okay, so on one side it is curbing or blocking or stopping or restricting the freedom of speech and expression, restrictions to freedom of speech and expression. Okay, so because of this arbitrary use of power, it is questioning the rationality of the decision. Okay, so because of these two, it alienates the judiciary. It means it increases the distance between people on one side and judiciary on the other side. Okay, people will give respect to the institution. Okay, if it maintains its transparency, if it maintains its values. If some of the values are being misused, then it alienates people from the institution. At the same time, the very challenge here is interpretation. Suppose, for example, take the case of scandal. In yesterday's newspaper, they gave an example. One of the newspapers in UK, okay, they criticized the judiciary heavily when they took the decision on Brexit. But the judiciary mentioned, look, okay, we can accept this. Okay, so with the reaction, like to some extent, we can accept these kind of arguments. So liberally they accepted that. Okay, but in the case of the present tweet, even for small, even for individual tweets, okay, to what extent we have the impact of this particular tweet? So without seeing the magnanimity of it, without seeing without seeing the issue in a wide angle, in a narrow angle, if you define that it is scandalous. Scandalous means what? Scandalizing means downgrading or degrading or lowering the authority of the judiciary or anybody or any institution. This is what we call a scandalous. Okay, so how can you define the term scandalous? It's a very difficult thing. So from judge to judge, it is varying. For one judge, scandalous means one thing. For another judge, scandalous means another thing. Okay, so this has become the biggest challenge, the very challenge of interpretation of the law, how to interpret it. So it has become subjective. Okay, subjective. Subjective means there can be chance of biases. Okay, so these are the issues with respect to the contempt of court. Okay. So for that, do we have any international experience? If you see the international experience here, if you take the case of Canada, this is also I have taken from the yesterday's newspaper. If you see in Canada, to start contempt of court proceedings, first, the issue should be real, substantial, and should pose immediate dangers. Suppose if we apply this concept to India, the Prashant Bhushan's tweet, first of all, it is real, but it should be substantial and it should be pose any immediate danger. The court should come up with an explanation what are the substantial reasons and immediate dangers with the tweet. Without that, how can you start the contempt of court proceedings? This is one argument. Second one, it's in the case, if you take the case of USA, there just for sake of comments. Okay, if you just comment on the judge, they will not come up with any contempt of court. If you are dealing with if you are going against the constitutional provisions, then they will come with the contempt of court law. But if you just passing a comment on the judge or criticizing the legal matters, then contempt of court proceeding should not be initiated. This is in USA. If you take the case of UK, where it actually got originated, okay. So in the year 2013, they actually added this word called scandalizing the court. So they removed this particular word because it is leading to subjective interpretation. Okay, so biased opinions. So with that reason, in the year 2013, UK, it actually removed this particular, it actually abolished this particular provision from its sections. Okay, so when these countries, when they are coming up with these kind of reforms to the contempt of court proceedings, why can't India also should try from this international experience? Okay. So this is with respect to contempt of court. So along with this contempt of court, so we have another one, what we call this as like sedition. Sedition. It is also like restricting freedom of speech and expression of the individuals. Okay. So if you take the case of sedition, sedition in simple terms, it means, okay, so individuals going against the values of the state. Okay. So either by way of their speech or by way of their writings or by way of their visual presentations like cartoons, paintings. Okay. In any way, what are they? Suppose, for example, either writings or speech or visuals. Visuals means cartoons, and we have here painting. Okay. So either by writings or speech or visuals. Okay. Any of your acts, like writing, speech, or visuals, if they incites violence, at the same time, if they goes against the values of the state, okay, then this is what we call as sedition. Okay, see here, this is the technical term, exciting disaffection against state. That means your speech or your writings or your visual acts, what they're looking like, they're actually exciting disaffection against state. They are bringing hatredness. They're bringing hatredness against the state. Okay. If in this way, if your actions are there, then this is what we call as sedition. Seditious act. Okay. What we call these acts as? Seditious acts. Seditious, S-E-D-I-T-I-O-U-S. Seditious acts. Okay. So to deal with these seditious acts, so in the Indian Penal Code, so we have a section called as Section 124A. Okay. So there is a section in the Indian Penal Code called as Section 124A. It deals with sedition related issues in the country. Okay. So if you see, there is one of the recent examples when before the COVID-19 lockdown starts, we have seen across the country what we call this as anti-CAA protests against this anti-CAA protests. In one of the protests in Bangalore, one 14-year-old girl, okay, in Bangalore, in one of the anti-CAA protest, what you call that as, it's a kind of gathering. Okay, so in that, she took the mic, she just raised the slogan, Pakistan Jindabad. This 14-year-old girl, she just raised the slogan, Pakistan Jindabad. For that reason, she was actually booked under Section 124A. This is the recent example. So before that also we have lot many previous examples. Okay, and in one of the recent examples, if you see one of the Kashmiri students, so he was booked under the Section 124A. And previously one of this former JNU Students Union President, Kanhaiya Kumar, okay, he was also booked under the Section 124A because he was part of a group that was actually doing activities or giving speeches against the country. So he was also actually still against whom the case is there, Section 124A. So that's why Section 124A also, it is also in one way restricting the freedom of speech and expression. That's why in the year 1962, this is the famous case, Kedarnath Singh versus State of Bihar. In this particular case, the Supreme Court comes up with a specific provision. It mentions like, if suppose, for example, if any act means here, it can be speech, it can be writings, or it can be any of the visual acts. If these acts, simply suppose, for example, if I said, I hate India, it shouldn't be immediately considered as seditious. When it should be called as seditious? If my act my act, it is leading to violence. Okay, leading to public disorder. Okay, so my actions, if it leads to violence, okay, public disorder, what kind of actions? My actions against the state. Okay, so if these actions, if they incites violence and leads to public disorder, okay, then that should be considered as sedition. That means if I am speaking against the state, okay, I'm criticizing the state. So while criticizing the state, or suppose I'm saying that this country is waste, democracy is waste, everything I'm saying. So because of that, if it leads to violence, then only that should be considered as sedition. Okay. So for each and everything, for small things, it shouldn't be considered as sedition charges. You can book the candidate on other charges, but not on charge of sedition. Because if it is proved, it leads to life imprisonment. Okay. So for that, again, if you see NCRB, National Crime Records Bureau, National Crime Records Bureau, NCRB. NCRB also from 2014 onwards, it started collecting the data. If you see the data here, see here, first of all, the number of the states which where more amount of sedition cases got booked: Assam, Jharkhand, Haryana, and Bihar. Okay, so these are the 4 states. In these 4 states, we have, you can almost take like more than 50 percentage, more than 50% of the cases, and rest of all the other states 35. Assam, Jharkhand, Haryana, and Bihar. More number of cases booked under the sedition charges. But if you see conviction rate, see this is most important. In the year 2016, how many cases got booked? Okay. So cases reported in 2016 35, but how many convictions? Just one conviction. 17 one conviction, 18 two convictions. But see the number of cases. Number of cases are getting increased. The graph is getting increased, but the conviction rate is actually low, very low. So you can mention this with graph also. This is the number of cases. This is the conviction rate. This is conviction rate. This is number of cases. So this is one analysis. You can just have a look at it. That means in what way sedition is being implemented in the country. At the same time here, along with sedition, if you just see how many cases are being booked against individuals, okay, by the state. So the most number of cases are with respect to this prevention of damage to public property, because whenever there is a protest, there will be a damage to the public property, and case will be booked under the Prevention of Damage to the Public Property Act. So highest number of cases are actually getting booked under the Prevention of Damage to Public Property Act. Next is we have this UPA, Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, 1967 one. So we have this is the sedition category. Okay, so these are the different acts. By using these acts, state is actually booking cases against individuals. So one such is the sedition. So just this particular information is just for your awareness. Okay, so that we discussed about sedition. Same like next one is defamation. Okay, see, contempt of court is against judiciary. Sedition is against the state. Defamation means this is actually against individuals. Okay, the action of damaging the good reputation of someone. So if you are trying to, this is also in the recent past heavily being misused. Suppose you got to know that one business person, by using some secret deals, they got the contract. Then if you try to criticize this individual, immediately that individual will file a case against you. Defamation lawsuit of 100 crores. 100 crores lawsuit against you. Okay. But here, the challenge is you have some benefit of doubt. You know that this individual got the contracts with some secret deals, but you don't have the proofs, but still you want to criticize. Then in that case, in those occasions, this particular section, this particular expression is being misused. First of all, what is defamation means? Same like either your writings, speech, okay, visuals, okay. If it leads to, okay, damaging the reputation of the individual, okay, your writings, actions, or your writing, speech, or any of your visual actions, if it leads to, due to which, if it leads to damaging the reputation of the individual, this is what we call as defamation. Okay, so section 499 defines what is defamation. Section 500 provides punishment for defamation. Okay, so 499 provides the definition for defamation. Section 500 provides the punishment for defamation. Even the Supreme Court also in the year 2016 upheld this particular section of the IPC. Why? The Supreme Court argued that, see here, defamation as constitutionally valid. It argued like here, reputation of one cannot be allowed to be crucified at the altar of others' right of free speech. So what it means? One individual, because I have a freedom of speech and expression, it does not mean that I should degrade or damage the reputation of another person. I should use my freedom of speech and expression to damage the reputation of another individual. Okay, that shouldn't be done. So here the court used this Article 19 Clause 2. This is one of the fundamental rights. Article 19, freedom of speech and expression. So Article 19 Clause 2 deals with restrictions to freedom of speech and expression, deals with restrictions. Okay, so restrictions to freedom of speech and expression. So even the Supreme Court also upheld defamation, the sections dealing with defamation. Then finally, what should be the way forward? So to deal with these kind of sections, what should be the way forward? The first and foremost thing, here we should get the international experience in what way different countries are actually using these kind of colonial provisions, because it can be defamation, it can be contempt of court, or it can be sedition. All these three, okay, these three, they were part of the colonial times, but still we are using because we thought like, okay, there is some relevance. Okay, but if you try to use them with subjective interpretations, that means with your own notions, then there comes the danger. We have seen in the case of this Prashant Bhushan issue. Okay, so there need to be some kind of reform. It can be to the contempt of court, or it can be to the sedition, because when it comes to sedition, the court is very clear. Until it is leading to violence or public disorder, you cannot consider that as sedition. Those kind of anti-government activities. At the same time, when it comes to defamation also, in the recent past, we are having this challenge, but still the Supreme Court argued that if this particular section should be there, or else right now we have this online, we have the social media. So via this social media, already this lot of hatred is being spread via social media. Okay. But if these kind of sections are not there, it can further create challenges to the state itself. So that's why Supreme Court also upheld the section 499, section 500 of IPC dealing with defamation. But here, on one side, we should create awareness to the people. That means like into what extent they can criticize the state. What kind of policy? The citizens also should be responsible here. So there need to be some kind of civic responsibility also, rather than criticizing for each and every aspect of the state. So there need to be substantive argument while criticizing. So this is some kind of alertness on part of individuals, on part of judiciary also. It should be careful. Okay. So for each for petty issues, for small issues, it should not come up with this using its powers in Article 129 or Article 215. This contempt of court proceedings. So in that way, we have to balance both freedom of speech at the same time restrictions to freedom of speech. Because if you try to miss anyone, because if you give unlimited powers to the people, too much of freedom, that's also danger. If you provide too much authority to the government, that's also danger. So we need to always try to balance this both. Okay. So with that note, I am ending this particular topic, rights versus restrictions. Thank you.